In this video, I want to talk to you about some words that, depending on what podcast you listen to, hear them just thrown out all over the place. And one of them, it does kind of irritate me to hear it used in such a negative tone. Hi, my name is Dina, and this is Correctish English, where we find out why we say what we say, why it bothers some people, and why somehow it actually all makes sense. So I really don't like the word Patsy to be used negatively. I had an Aunt Patsy, and she was a pretty amazing person. And no, that was her real name. It was not a nickname. She was an amazing artist and just very kind-hearted. And so when I first heard someone use the word Patsy to mean someone who gets blamed, I remember thinking, did my grandparents not know what a Patsy was? So that's when I got curious about the word and looked up the history. How does a completely respectable name turn into an insult? And we see a lot of that these days. I'm sure you can come up with a list of names. You know, the answer is it's history, psychology, and, well, human nature. So Patsy started out noble, strong, religious, and somehow it became shorthand for the one who gets set up, the fall guy, the dupe, the sucker. How did this happen? So let's rewind and we'll see why it feels more relevant today than ever. The story begins with the Latin name Patricius, meaning nobleman. That later becomes Patrick, made famous by St. Patrick. In Italy, a related name appears, Pascal, connected to Easter. I actually heard somebody use that yesterday in relation to Easter. So originally this name carries some serious weight, nobility, religious significance, and cultural respect. Not weak, not foolish, just a solid history. By the 17 and 1800s, especially with Irish immigration to America, Patsy becomes a common nickname for Patrick. It's affectionate, it's casual, it's friendly. In some places, it even becomes a given name all by itself. Yes, my aunt was born in the 1940s, so by then it had become a name, apparently, for women. It's affectionate, it's casual, it's friendly. In some places, it even becomes a given name all by itself, like my aunt. Completely normal, still harmless. Back then, long before social media, long before comment sections, the first influencers were carnival operators and street scammers. In the 1800s, especially in big cities, gambling and street games were everywhere. Traveling shows and sidewalk gamblers would set up games that looked simple. You've seen these: shell games, card tricks, dice games, find the ball challenges. The games looked easy, and the operator made it look like anyone could win. But of course, most of the games were rigged. And the operators understood something about human nature that marketers still use today. People trust something a lot more when they see other people enjoying it or winning at it. That's where the shill came in. Enter the shill. The shill worked with the operator, but looked like a random passerby. They'd bet, win, bet again, and win again. And the crowd would see this and think, well, if that person can do this, maybe I can too. The shill was basically the marketing department of a con job. The word shill started appearing in American slang dictionaries in the mid-1800s, always connected to carnivals or gambling scams. And both of those words come from a world that was basically the Wild West of entertainment. 19th century traveling carnivals, street gamblers, and professional con artists. Then there's the pigeon. Now the scammers also had a word for the people they were hoping would walk up and play. These people were called pigeons, or stool pigeons. A pigeon was the target of the scam, someone the con artist believed would be easy to convince. The name probably comes from the idea that pigeons are easy to lure with a few crumbs. So if you walked up to the game thinking you could win, you might unknowingly be playing the role of a pigeon, which historically speaking is not the role you want. Now here's where the word Patsy comes back into the story. Remember, it started as a completely harmless nickname. But in the early 1900s American slang, the word begins appearing in newspapers and crime stories with a new meaning. It describes someone who had been tricked, manipulated, framed, or blamed. In other words, the person left holding the bag when the plan fell apart. The fall guy. One famous moment cemented the word in history that happened in 1963. And this is where I first saw the word. Not that I was there around in 1963, but reading about history. After the assassination of JFK, the accused gunman told reporters, "I'm just a patsy." And, so from that point on, the word became permanently associated with someone set up to take the blame. So if we put all the pieces together, a classic street scam might look like this. The operator runs the game, the shill pretends to be a happy customer, the pigeon walks up thinking they can win. And if something goes wrong or someone needs to take a fall, that person might become the patsy. It sounds complicated, but it works extremely well because the con artists weren't just running games. They were running psychology experiments on crowds. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Carnival games are long gone, but the psychology, exactly the same. The operator became brands, PR teams, and influencer networks. The shill became paid influencers or online promoters. The pigeon, that's us, scrolling through feeds, believing what we see. And the patsy, someone set up to take the fall when the narrative backfires. Think about it. Some influencers get paid to hype a product or a person, or criticize someone who disagrees with them. Their fans see it and trust it because the shill looks just like another enthusiastic user. The crowd believes the hype. That's the pigeon. And if the campaign goes wrong and someone gets dragged through the drama, that's the modern day patsy. It's the same game the carnivals ran 150 years ago, just digital now. Humans haven't changed. We still respond to social proof, enthusiasm, and authority cues. But words like shill, pigeon, and patsy survive because the roles survive. Online or offline, we see people secretly hyping something or getting paid to hype something, targets being convinced, and someone ending up getting blamed. Language loves shortcuts, and these words describe very specific human behavior. So the next time you see someone ranting and raving online or crashing out or calling someone out, ask yourself, is this person a shill? Is someone being set up as a patsy? Are you the pigeon in the scenario? History moved from carnival tents to Instagram feeds, but the psychology hasn't changed a bit. And every time I hear the word patsy used that way, I still think of my Aunt Patsy, which just goes to show sometimes language changes, but the people behind the names are still worth remembering. The funny thing is, the carnival may have packed up and left town, but the psychology never did. And if you enjoy strange word histories like this, like and subscribe for more, because English doesn't just evolve. Sometimes it steals vocabulary from con artists. And these stories are honestly some of the best ones. See you next time.